Let me set the scene for you. It's 2018 and teenage Aradhana is in her peak. She has come across the K-pop industry and slowly found herself into the BL industry too, because the pipeline from K-pop to BL is really there. She was first introduced to BLs via the Japanese, and then she moved on to Thai, and Korea had like a handful of BLs back then. But you know what? She was happy. She was content because the depression had not kicked in yet. But she was absolutely not ready for the absolute boom in the economy of the Korean BL industry that was to come. So back in 2020, which was 5 years ago, we saw a rise in the creation and production of Korean BLs like Wish You, Color Rush, Where Your Eyes Linger, of course Mr. Heart. And there were two reasons as to why especially these shows caught on more than the predecessors. Number one, it was a pandemic. We were literally ready to eat up any form of content we were being given. And secondly, these shows in particular, they were really good story-driven shows which were even shot and produced well. In general, LGBT content was seen as kind of trashy, and the words yaoi and fujoshi/fudanshi don't have great origin stories in terms of etymology. So finally seeing something that was being treated on the same level as a Korean drama in terms of internal and external conflict. For example, in Color Rush, Sonyu and his inability to see color, marking him as a mono until he meets Yuhan, and his inner turmoil to stay away from Yuhan, fearing that he would cause harm to him just like how previous monos had done so. Or even Sangha from Mr. Heart, where he comes from not so great backgrounds, but just seeing his crush run and the fact that he was able to help him somehow in his marathons, it was more than enough for him because he just wanted that sliver of happiness. So this is why I believe that the KBS started becoming popular amongst the audience themselves, is because there was actual content and it was not being treated as a trashy piece of comedy. But today we're going to check out specially, I feel, which is like the first BL is like everyone's induction at that point of time to the Korean BL industry, which is Where Your Eyes Linger. Where Your Eyes Linger is a classic tale of master and servant, but why does it work in the favor for these two? So let's break it down. So Han Tae-ju is the teenage chaebol heir to the TB group. While he is friendly, he does get into his fair share of troubles, and this is where Kanguk steps in. Kanguk is his friend and unofficial bodyguard who keeps protecting his Tension starts happening when a new student, Hemi, shows interest in Kanguk, and then all the emotion starts to show. So Tae-ju is a bit of a player, which kind of gets him into trouble with the boyfriend of his and his girlfriend. I'm explaining this beautifully. And then obviously Kanguk comes to save him. And honestly speaking, within this scene, you can already see the relationship established between these two. Because moment the boyfriend guy calls Kanguk Tae-ju's servant, you can immediately see his expression and demeanor change, because for Tae-ju, Kanguk is an equal. He does not see him as a servant. He sees him as a friend, someone at his standing. But a beautiful contrast happens when Kanguk's inner monologue states how he sees Tae-ju on a pedestal and he will always be higher than him, even calling the friendship a disguise for a master-servant relationship. We get to see that he doesn't have a great relationship with his strict dad, and the dad even says that if you get into trouble again, I will send you to England. This entire crux of England is foreshadowing for later. Kanguk takes Tae-ju to a restaurant where we get the token girl who helps the gays realize they have feelings towards each other. I'm allowed to say this, I am the gay myself. So usually the girls actually like Tae-ju. He's considered the more attractive one. But this time the girl asks for Kanguk's number, which he ends up giving a fake one because who knew he has feelings for Tae-ju and he will not reveal them until the very end. Because that's the fun of BLs. But Tae-ju, being the annoying little prick that he is, he ends up giving his number, his being Kanguk's number, to the girl, the original, like the correct number to the girl, and the girl ends up messaging him. And in the beginning, Kanguk's like, okay, I'm not going to message her, it's okay, whatever. But over time, he realizes that, hey, I think Tae-ju is straight and he will never see me like that, and I am his bodyguard, and it just can never happen. So he does decide to go on a date with her. But SpaghettiOs, Tae-ju is not happy about the thing that he made Kanguk do. What a surprise. And that's when we also see that Tae-ju also may have some hidden feelings towards Kanguk. But to be honest, I don't think he also knows about his own feelings. At that point of time, I believe he just really liked having Kanguk around. And especially, he didn't realize his own feelings is because never once confessed, no nothing. But the man got injured because of Kanguk. They were fighting, Kanguk twisted his hand. he didn't get hurt. He was overreacting. He put a plaster on it. He put a plaster. And then it was actually fake because he kind of wanted, Kanguk to take care of him. But again, these aren't feelings, right? Me crashing my bodyguard's date, these aren't feelings. Me telling him to walk back home because I'm angry at him because he went on a date that I kind of helped set up. Those aren't feelings, right? But plot twist, yeah, he did like him. He was aware of Kanguk's feelings for him. But again, Kanguk has to act the role of the bodyguard and therefore he cannot reveal his feelings towards his master because story logic. But this bed scene, I still get chills rewatching it to this day. You know that feeling in your chest that you get when you get the feels? Just me? While rewatching this, I still got those feels in my Ghasem. Because you know that these two know that the other person likes them. But they will still be adamant, obviously, about their feelings. But Teju finally breaks, and in asking Kanguk to hug him, it is kind of him confessing to Kanguk indirectly, saying that I love you. And in the beginning, Kanguk is apprehensive because obviously he is the bodyguard. So he first rejects the idea. But non-bodyguard Kanguk, the actual emotion behind the bodyguard Kanguk takes over, and then he goes in to hug him, which is subtly saying, I love you too. And this is why, fellow Fujoshis and Fudanshis, is why I love this show to this day. Because you want to know what's the most important thing that we are told in film school? Your audience is not dumb. They can pick up on clues and nuances. Everything does not need to be stated or said out in dialogues. And that's why I liked it. Because since the beginning, you knew Kanguk liked Teju. But he never said it, did he? He never explicitly mentioned it in dialogue, nor was it mentioned. It was all through eye acting. And in this show especially, the eye acting is chef's kiss, masterpiece. And also in film school, we were also taught that stop putting so much exposure in your dialogues. There is a way out, which this show has done, in fact. It's done very well. The device that I'm talking about is inner monologue. Inner monologue is basically where a character's internal thoughts are being shown to the audience. We are there. Monologue. That is how we get to know that Kanguk likes Teju. And later on, we even get to see Teju's internal monologue from episode 4, where Teju confesses to having some hidden feelings for Kanguk. Even we get to see it with how he acts and even his eyes. And how he tries to do everything to keep Kanguk close to him. Because putting 2 and 2 together, Teju gets into trouble so that Kanguk can come to him. But the ultimatum of England is put forward, because of which he cannot use the same tactic that he usually does, which leads to him directly egging on Kanguk in terms of pushing him towards dates, which obviously goes a little too far, but hey, because of that, the emotions finally came to the surface, so it works out for us. And now peak realization happens in this dodgeball scene between these two classes. While playing, where Kanguk ends up protecting his girlfriend, Yemi, rather than go in front of Teju, which hurts Teju both physically and emotionally and mentally. So obviously Teju is a little frustrated, not because of the hurt or like the dodgeball itself, but more by the fact of Kanguk not revealing his feelings, which leads to him popoing him on the field. But not really. They didn't actually kiss. It's just the illusion that they kissed. They didn't actually kiss. Instead, like, Kanguk pushes him off because people might see, obviously. And you can't have a gay chaebol, can you? And then you think, hey, the fight's over. But no, plot twist, they fight again. This time induced purposely by Kanguk. Bye. But yeah, they fight again. This time, Teju is egging on Kanguk so that he can reveal his feelings, but Kanguk remains adamant about not revealing it. In fact, he tries to push him away both physically and emotionally. And in the final push, he ends up saying that over the past 15 years, in that 1 week that Teju had gone to Japan and he was not with him in Korea, that was the best week he ever had in his life, implying that Teju has always been a burden on him, which we know is not the truth. I hope we know that. And that's when Teju cannot take it anymore and he instead gets angry and tells Kanguk to resign and leave within a month. This is another peak scene for me. Teju ends up crying right in front of Kanguk because he has always been emotional in front of Kanguk. He has always been open. And because of that, he sheds a tear in front of him. Whereas Kanguk till the very end, does not shed a tear. In fact, he sheds a tear only when Teju does not see his face, when he is out of sight for him. And just when you think things are about to get fixed, no, they don't. Because Kanguk goes back to the house that both of them live in, and it's been ransacked. Obviously, it looks like Teju got angry and then hit things around, but Teju himself was not in the house, so it looks like he has been kidnapped. But it's far worse, because he has been outed to his conservative dad. What I mean is, when they were about to kiss, this one guy ended up seeing them. Now, this guy is important because it was the same guy who was fighting in episode 1, basically the boyfriend. He had made up with Teju. He said, I'm sorry, because actually the power dynamics is kind of beautifully portrayed in this. This guy, the boyfriend, his father is a board member of the TB group. However, Teju's father is the chairman of the TB group, which means he outranks him. And well, he did hit Teju. So he did apologize. But the thing is, Teju's father asked the boyfriend guy to look over these two, Kanguk and Teju, and to report to him. Because from his view, it looked like they had kissed. So he ended up reporting it to the father like an idiot. So this all leads to Teju having to go to England because he caused the trouble. The ultimatum was set and now it's going through. So Kanguk ends up figuring out that he's at the chairperson's house itself and he ends up going there. Kanguk does get hurt, and to make it stop, Teju agrees to go to England, but with one last request of he wishes to go back home where both of them live for this night. Both of them finally make up and spend one last night together. And it all beautifully comes together, honestly speaking, in this last scene where they return home. God damn it, this scene actually made me cry. All the emotions are finally coming out. You can see how Teju's still trying to maintain his funny demeanor, but it's also bittersweet for him because Kanguk is revealing his feelings, but at what cost? You can also see Kanguk finally acting tender, not as the bodyguard, but as Kanguk the human. Even taking him to the bedroom. Let's go! But they don't do it, you perverts. Although I wish they kind of did. At that point of time, when I first watched it, I kind of wanted them to, do it. But it makes sense for them to not do it, while I was rewatching them. Because 3 things. Number 1, it was 2020. We were just starting with the BL movement. It was different time. Secondly, they're high school students. So trying to show that they did it would not send the best message across. And thirdly, Kanguk is hurt, technically. So it shows them actually caring about each other. And that's it. That's how it ends. Nothing else happens. It ends right here on them on the bed, tearfully saying goodbye. Liar! I did go into the deep recesses of Reddit to see if I was the only one who was unhappy about the ending of this show. Turns out I was vindicated because I found many people complaining about it. But not in the way that I was complaining about it. I kind of wanted to see a sad ending, whereas people kind of wanted to see the England part itself not happen. I wanted the England part to happen. That's what was the crux. The ending on the bed, it was perfect in my opinion because all the emotional build-up led to that. Because for me, the climax felt right in the sense of these two had always taken it for granted, especially Teju had taken it for granted that they would always be together. And then in the end, it could have been such a nice thing of they'd eventually do get separated. Or if you wanted to give it a happy kind of ending, it could have been in a small epilogue kind of thing rather than full blown out scenes like how they had done. Like they could have pulled something like A Time of Fever where the two main characters just come together in that river scene and they just look at each other and that's it. No dialogue, no nothing. And they just hold their eyes. Because where your eyes linger. It would have been such a beautiful ending. But anywho, I do like the sad stuff. I like being emo. And yeah, that was basically much where your eyes linger. Loki, I'm still impressed by this show's ability to make me cry and have emotions to this date as a jaded 22-year-old adult. And it holds up so well. Honestly speaking, the acting in this show, especially in my opinion, Teju's actor did such a freaking good job. Whenever he had to do the eye acting, whenever he had to emote how he was angry, how he was upset, he did it so well. I still get the chills to this day. I hope you enjoyed me using this video as an excuse to rewatch my favorite Korean BLs, and let me know which was your first Korean BL down in the comments below, and do like, share and subscribe to the Namaste Hallyu YouTube channel. That will be all. Thank you.